Oh, hello everybody, and welcome to another tutorial in camera and lens repair. And this time I will take my old Olympus-Pen, and it's the EED version, and take apart and see how things are working or not working. And in this case it's the focusing ring that is really stiff in some way, and the aperture ring auto is also quite stiff. So and there was something wrong with the self timer, so I would like to take a look inside and see how it will be possible. And I mean, there are some fungus in the front lens group, so I will also take that apart, and also the back. Maybe there's something, or I just want to clean it. The camera is actually working in some way. We can just advance the camera and fire the shutter, and we can see, well, it's actually working. And if we set it to auto, and it's set on ASA 12, put a finger over the light sensor and try to fire the shutter, it will not work. Or if I expose the sensor, it will work. So things are working. Actually, if I change it to something 400 ASA, things are different. So you can see the shutter is actually working as it should. Now, we need some tools also. In this case, a lot of screwdrivers, and I will take you through those as I go into the process. Some are, I mean, all process are JIS. It will say Japan Industry Standard. Those are from Moody Tools, and you can buy them on ifixit.com, where I buy them. And just to get things clear, I am not sponsored by any company. Everything I do on my channel is with my own money, just to get that clear. Now, a pointed tweezer, maybe another tweezer with a little bigger one can be good. 1.8 millimeter flathead, a 2.5 millimeter flathead will also be useful, and some dentist tool to make good scratch. Yeah, that's great. A lens tool, this is a compass, I know, but I have filed and grind the tip so it works really good with lens repair, also camera repair. Now those famous rubber tool from Japan Hobby Tool, it's a really good tool when working with camera and lenses. Thanks to that for thanks for that, Richard, if you hit. Now, some special tool was necessary for me to make to come into the camera, and of course assemble it again. Now, those screws here with tiny holes, how do you actually unscrew those? Well, you need to make a tool like this, and I just use my Dremel tool and file, and a grinder also is good. Simply to have two tiny pins, so it can be put on here, and simply unscrew this screw. So that was the one in this case. Another tool, which I actually made out of something from my used shower curtain. Now, I mean the shower stand for the, yeah. And it fits because when we will take apart the lens under here, and it has 38.6 millimeter diameter, and that's one of the things. I have used my grinder and Dremel tool and file to actually make two tiny pin, one on each side. I mean one across from the other would be better to say, and it will make it very easy to unscrew the lens, the front lens assembly with the shutter blades in. So we'll see how it looks sooner. A lens sucker is also useful, and we will also use some nail polish remover, and with acetone, that's important, and some isopropyl alcohol, 99%, or maybe 70 or 90 is also fine. A fine, really fine sewing machine oil, which I use, and some Liqui-Moly LM47 MoS2, MoS2, yeah, for the helicoid in the lens. Now, let's jump into it. Out with the battery here, and I will simply begin to take off the bottom plate. So out with the battery, put that aside. There are two screws here, one there and there, and there's a plastic pin in here which is used when rewind the film, and take care of that plastic part. Now, off of those two screws, because then we are pretty much into the camera here. So it looks like this. The plastic pin, as you can see, it sits here. It's a kind of a little fork that goes over the pin here. So when pushing down, it will lock. If I can get it to do, it will lock the rewinder, so it will stay there. But we can just take it out. So, and now next thing is the battery chamber. I mean, I will loosen it, but not desolder it, because I think it's not necessary. Where did my screwdriver go? Here. There are two black screws here, and we can just loosen them now. Out with those. I thought they were plastic, but it is actually come out, little fellow. But it's actually metal. So out with those. And so we are here. Now, next thing is the top cover, because I want to get into here, take this side plate here and also this side plate, and to do that, well, I need to take off the sides here. One side, it will say the back, and this side too, and of course the top cover, because all the mechanism is sitting behind here, and also because I want to get off the leather, which is plastic leather kind of. So yeah, and I also need to take off the self-timer leather. So off with that with my special tool. It will say it's really easy. So out with that. It's not very difficult to make that tool, so just so you know it. And here we look into the parts inside here. It will say that looks like this. And yeah, now I need to take off the top cover, open the film gate, film door, and I need to take off the rewinder arm. And do not unscrew this. It's only necessary to unscrew the it could be something wrong here, but it's not the case here. So we need to put the rewinder in this position here. Use the end of a tweezer or something, and simply turn the lever counterclockwise. It will say that way. So, and have a good grip on it. It can sit tight. Of course, it's not the case here. So unscrew it. Take care of there is a spacer here. This one, it sits over here. Or you can just put it on here. And when you put it in here, it will of course sit there. Now, put that aside. Just so we have to arrange things. This arm, this part here will just stay there. Next thing is the top cover here. Yeah, the two screws that sits under the rewinder is need to be unscrewed. And there is also a, oh gosh, take care of the screws. They are really tiny in this camera. So there. So I know where they should sit. There's a wire in here that we need to desolder. Next thing is the other screw on the other side. So there. And then we can actually lift off the top. Take care of the shutter button, and then we can just take it off like this. Now we need a stand or something like that to put the top cover on. When desoldering the wire here. So just use a tweezer to hold it so it's free. And then this is the top cover. There is a little lens here for the sensor that we also need to just clean very lightly. And yeah, that's it. Away with that. And take off the shutter button itself. I mean, the long pin here is not really the trigger. It's more the that actually sits in this hole here. This is the real trigger button. So this one has to sit in the hole here. Something like that. So, and yeah, that's it. And yeah, so we do so. And then we will take off the one side here. I set 3 marks here with the red one there, there, and there. And you have to remember they have to sit there, not there. Because it's for the top cover. So we just take this off. Oi. Nothing happened. And the last one. Of course I should have opened the camera first. So, and away with that tiny screw. So this is how it looks. For that. And arrange the parts where there are two screws here for the lock plate. And there is a tiny spring in here. A little long one sitting something like here. Take care of that. So when unscrew the plate, have your finger here until both screws are out. Then I will show you how you can prevent the spring from flying away where you cannot find it. Now put your fingers on, and it says something, maybe, and you can see this, oh sorry, and here you have it, the little spring sits here. It sits opposite. Of course, if I hold the camera like this, it should sit up here. So it will say something like that up here somewhere. All for that. Keep the screws so you can find them. And now we can take off the this rewinder part, and now we are, oh, this part also comes off. It's the lock. It can only sit in one position. You see the hook here, this hook, it can only sit in that position. I mean, you cannot put it in wrong, it simply will not work. So, and we can also take off the viewfinder. As I said, I have no repair manual for this, so I make some scratch when I took it apart. It will say something like here and there, and also here. Maybe there was some alignment that should be correct, but it's not the case here. So all for that. And out. The screws are the same, so it's not a problem. And then we can lift off the viewfinder. It's nothing special, it's just 3 lenses. And that's it, and it's really dirty. So we'll take a look sooner. So, oh, I need to change battery. Hold on. So, and now I will just continue with the taking off the leather here and get the 2 plates, side plates over here, off, and take care of not pressing too much on the parts here. I mean, it's quite it's good quality. I mean, the way it's made, built. Now, to get off those leather, it was quite strong glue they used back then, and to get it off we need a hairdryer. Yeah, you're right, just a normal hairdryer to get it to actually soften the the leather here. So I would where did it go here? With my dentist tool, it's a Spartacus or something. It's a kind of a spade where you can gently lift off the plastic or leather or whatever it is. It's good. It's a great tool. So I will of course speed up the process here. You maybe have to do it longer than I do, because since I already have had this leather off, it was just only a little sticky, so it's not a problem. But you have to take care of when soften it, and especially if you use a heat gun that is much stronger in the heat. I think it's better to control the heat with the hairdryer. Now, there are 4 screws, 2 on each side, that hold those plates. And this only plate, it's not the kind of a mirror house where you take it off. It's more just a cover or so. So we just need to unscrew those 2 screws on each side. So there. And then we can come into the more interesting parts in a way. So you can see we just lift it off. There's nothing special with that. And it's the same with the other side. There's one exposed here, and the other one is under the leather. But the screws are the same on each side. So there. And take care. The very tiny, shiny pin here that actually push on the self-timer inside the camera. So you can see it will fall off. So, and off for that. And we need a tweezer here just to catch it from going into the camera. So you can see it's tiny. Again, we need to take another part out, which is actually the intermediate press button for the self-timer. I mean, this shiny pin here will push on this pin here, this pin here, and again it will push on the internal mechanism in the self-timer and activate it that way. Now, what do? I will also take off the front lens with the front lens group and the shutter inside, and it's held in place by a name ring here that we I mean, you can use a lens tool like this. There are 2 notches, one on each side here, to unscrew it. I mean, to actually unscrew it, but sometimes it's just simply much better. I mean, this one could sit really tight, but it doesn't here. But we can just turn it. Oh, we could just use the rubber cone here. It will say the number 5, the full set here, and put a good pressure on it. Center it, and then pressure, and then you can unscrew it. Inside here, somewhere over here, there is a little steel ball for that actually make the click for the aperture ring. We will see it in a short time if I can get this loose. So there, and so the front ring made of aluminium, and now we can see the top, I mean the front ring here with the index mark here, I mean the aperture index mark, and right under you can see there is a cam here, kind of with some small notch in that make the click, and the steel ball is here. And when we turn it, we will turn the aperture cam in here. So and we can just get rid of the steel ball here if it's possible, so we know where it is. And for that, oh gosh, hold on, a magnetic screwdriver could be a good solution in this case, and then you have it out nice and easy. Put it aside where you can find it. Now, to get the aperture ring off, it sits with a plate here that actually activates the mechanism deeper inside. And it's a funny combination of flathead screws and crosshead screws. And we'll just unscrew this plate. But before doing so, it's important, because we have to know the exact position of this plate here. So make a scratch here in the middle of the plate, and also inside of the aperture ring. If you are in trouble of, okay, did I put it right, you could also set a mark here on each side and over here, so you know the exact position of the plate. I don't know the name of it because I do not have the repair manual. So off with that. Tiny screws, they are non-magnetic, made of brass, I guess. So there, and then it's possible to, I mean it should be possible to lift it off. So, and then we can take off this ring here. Here you see the spring for the little steel ball. And so I can take off the front lens screw, which is already loose because I have been into it, but if it was not loose, we could just use the rubber cone to simply unscrew it. It did not sit that tight, but yeah. There are some kind of fungus, maybe you can see it. And there is also something on the front lens itself. so we'll take a look at sooner. Now we are deeper into the the parts, and we will just take the inner, the plate that actually, the ring that actually activate the, what you say, aperture part in here. It's part of the shutter blades, so we can just see the cam here. So when we move it in here, we'll change the aperture. It's not like normal camera with aperture blades, and so it's more simple in a way. And we can just take it out if it's possible. Simply lift it out. Here you see the pin, this pin here, this pin. It goes into the gap here, and actually control the part of the shutter mechanism in here, all the way over here. Especially when it's set to auto, it will be right over here and activate this all the way over here and activate this arm here, lever. Now, to get actually the shutter assembly out, it will also take out the back lens group. There is a retaining ring here. You maybe see there is a notch here and a notch over here. There are some kind of lock paint or something like that, and for that I made this special tool, and I also made some notes about it. You see, the retaining ring that holds the shutter assembly with the blades, or the front and the front lens group, is, the ring itself is 38.6 millimeter. And I use a tube that is something like, I said 38.6 millimeter, but actually is, you could use a tube that is 38.25, but, well, I was actually wrong. So let's see how with the diameter. And yeah, I was right in a way. It's 25, so something like that. So I was wrong when I wrote it on the back here. It has to be, of course, 38.25 millimeter. That's the width of this tube, and it will make it a lot easier. Since I do not have a real lens spinner, this one is not really the best for that, because it's not the correct angle. So I think it would just be easier to make a tube like this. It could also be used in other lenses, and especially the inner diameter has to go over the front here, something like that. And then it'll be a lot easier to just turn it. It can sit a little tight, so, and that ring comes off. When you work with the old cameras, you have to make a special tool. So this is the ring that comes off without problems. And then I can take out the shutter assembly. I will show you how it works sooner. and then it's out. But how does it actually work? Yeah, it's a very simple one. It's simply there is only 2 blades actually. I mean, it looks like there's only 2 blades, which there are. So you can see it's a quite simple mechanism in here. There's no oil on it, but so there's no need for actually taking it apart. But if there was, well, there are 3 screws around here on the back. And the back lens, yeah, we'll take a look at it sooner. So let's see, things get a little crowded here. Now, you see the focusing assembly is quite loose. So how do we get into that? Well, we need to take off the top part here with a meter, and for that there are some screws around here. But before doing so, we need to set some marks here. I set a mark here which is in line with the meter part, and the back here, no one will see it, so there is not a problem here. So I will simply begin to take off that. There is a screw here, there is a screw down here, this one down there, and there is a screw over here. It holds the top part with the ASA part. There's no need for unscrew those 2 screws, and if you do so, you will need to take off the meter part to actually put this back on again. I know it because I tried. Now, remember the screws where they sit. So off with that, and off with this one. Those 2 screws are the same, but the one that sits in the middle down here is not the same. So off with that, and we will just have to put them somewhere we can find them. Now, take off the middle screw that sits down here and hold the camera in this position. It will make it easier to just take out the screw. So the screw is non-magnetic, but you can just have it there, and here it comes. It looks a little different, as you probably can see, compared to the other 2. Hopefully you can see it. No, that's important. And now we can lift this off here gently, very gently. So out it comes. Now here we can see the ASA system. So when I turn the ASA, it will, you can see probably what's happened. It will move this part here, and of course it will move the inside here, this the eye. Hold on. And hopefully we can see how it will work. So when I turn this, the arm here on the back will move this part here and open and close the, I can show it in a different way here. So you can see here how it goes. And it will push on the back here if we can get it to work. So you can see how it goes. So that was it. And I think I will just take out desolder this part here. The meter part. So I can, maybe it's not the best thing to do. I will take the wire off the battery chamber itself. I think it will be easier when put it back in again. Maybe not. No. I think it's better to just desolder it here. Hopefully. So, and off it comes. And then we have the meter part, where you can see the meter in here. It's a very smart thing. Now, put it aside, and we can also take out the battery chamber. So, and now, one thing that is important here is do not advance the camera now. So, and the fire is actually, yeah, I activate the shutter. But before advance the camera, make yourself a good thing. In my opinion, set to scratch here. Because it is important how this ring here, this gear here, sits, as I see it, how it sits when when you look at the how the sequence is to advance the camera. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm right, but set a mark here so you know where it should sit. And now we can take off the whole front section. There are 4 screws inside the back here that we need to take out. Now, there are 2 screws holding the mechanism plate. Together with the 4 screws in here. There's one here, which is a crosshead, and there's one over here, which is a just a flathead screw, and that's it. So remember to set them back into correct. There's also a spacer here. And out with that. And the other screw is up here. This one sits here. And off with that. And then we need another tool to just take it out. just push the spring here to one side, and with a magnetic screwdriver, which is good in this case. It's not every time it is, but and then we can take out the whole front section with the very loose lens assembly, the focus assembly, and then we have it out. Remember the little spacer here, which is not a spacer, it's a light shell, and there are some cloths inside. So remember that when you assemble it again. So better put it with the screws that hold the front. So I will just arrange those screws, because those are the screws that hold actually the whole section here. So we can just take out the wire, and then we have the advanced mechanism, which is nothing special. We can just move it, and I set some mark here just to have it correct, and yeah, there it is. And that was actually those marks I set before I took out the lens, the mechanism plate. So it will be good to, when you put it back in again, and also this mark here, you probably can see there is a small mark on the gear. It sits there, and this is the one mark that will be connected to this mark here, and the other mark over here should also be the same. So the sequence when you advance the camera is correct. Now here we should look into the lens, the focusing mechanism, which is quite not very easy to move. So before I take that apart, that is important, because I don't think, if you have the repair manual, I don't think it will tell anything about it. Now set a mark here in line with the index mark and the infinity mark here, so you know the exact position before you take it apart. So there are 3 screws on the back here, one there, and there is one down here, this one, and there is one under the sitting something like here, and this one, of course. Now to get to this screw here we need to take some parts off to get it to work, and I will show it sooner when I will make it in more than one part, when I disassemble the focusing system, and when I clean the self timer and the slow gear, which sits under here. And that's the main thing with this camera. So and before we actually take off the self timer, just to remember, set a mark here, as you see here, or somewhere, but just so you have a reference mark here and a reference mark on the gear here. Hope you can see it. it will say something like there and there. So you have a reference mark where it should sit. That's important. So to take off the focusing assembly, we need to take off this screw here, and this screw under here. Where did my screwdriver go here? So this one has to come off. Remember, there's a spacer in under here. Just so you know it is there. So it's off. It's a special screw. So just so you know how it looks. And we can then lift off this arm here, and there is a spacer under it. Then you can just lift it out, something. And then there's a screw here. There's also a spring here that we need to take off. But I found out it was actually more easy to unscrew this first, then this, unscrew this screw, and this one will flip up here and will make it easier to lift off the spring. So where did you go? Here. And keep a finger on here to the screws so they will not flew away. Then it's loose and it will gently draw. So this screw is off. And then you can see it's more loose in a way. And then it should be possible with a dented tweezer and simply yeah, lift it off. It sits quite tight on this pin, but off it comes. So that's it. So we are fully exposed to the all screws here, and I can simply take off the focusing system. Something like that. And the last one. I could take off the self-timer now, but we'll just get rid of the focusing system. So there, and gently lift. I can see. Well, I should have taken off the self-timer. Yeah, I know. Okay, we'll just do so. Should be possible. Nah, okay. Well, just screw it in again so I know where it is. Now, the self-timer is sit with two screws. The one here, this one here, was extremely tight. So I used some nail polish remover, and it was really tight. So I simply used some nail polish remover on a cotton bud. And it should be the stinky with the acetone and simply add it to the hole here. It's a kind of a knot, and it was really difficult to get out. They use a lot of thread lock in here, so it was really tight. The other one was not a problem. So we just take off the self-timer now. There. And the other screw. And in this case the screw will just sit where it should. And here we are. So this is the way it works. So when advance the self-timer, yeah, I can see. Well, it's quite dry, as you said. So I'll just put it aside and then take out the focus assembly. We sit by this fully exposed screw. Off for that. So, and here it is. And then we can take it out. Should be possible. And then turn it over, see how it looks. This lever here, you see there is a kind of a hook. It actually engages with the this pin here, kind of. So it locks the when you turn the aperture ring to auto, this this lever will go all the way over to that way or the other, depending on it sets to auto or not. So this is the mechanism plate where we have some stuff, and this is the slow gear here. So, and we can just try to move it. And before taking it out, we also need to set some scratch. Again, yes, it's important, in my opinion. So make a scratch around here, so it's actually have the scratch have the shape of the self-timer, so you know exact position. And you can also do it on the other side, something like here. So when you know it sits where it should, we can simply unscrew it. It's good with a magnetized screwdriver. And we also take the other screw that sits here. And then the slow gear is free. So it looks like this. So that was that was actually the important part of this whole camera. I mean, and next I will just begin with to clean the slow gear and lube it, and then begin to assemble parts again. So that was all for me now. See you sooner in part 2.